And I gotta get rid of your thumbnail. There we go. Look at that. And we are all live now. All right, awesome. So thank you all for joining us. We're joined by our friend Nick Brana here, who is, I think, the director, no, or the co-chair of the People's Party?
Chair of the People's Party, yeah.
Wow. All right. I want to be the chair of something.
Not always as fun as it sounds.
No, we actually have a lot to talk about, not a lot of time. Let's get right to it. But before we do anything, at the top of the show, let's talk about what that poster is behind you, which we will come back to later. But yeah, go ahead. Talk to me about that.
Hell yeah. So this is Rage Against the War Machine. This is the response to decades and decades of this country's warmongering. And we are going to come out and we're going to address this, specifically the war in Ukraine. February 19th, Lincoln Memorial, 12:30 p.m., thousands of people. We're going to rage against the war machine. We're going to have veterans. We're going to have speakers. We're going to have live music, rock music. And then when we're done, we're going to march to the White House. So, we're demanding an end to the billions going to Ukraine. We're demanding negotiating peace. We're demanding nuclear disarmament. And the abolition of war and empire entirely. NATO, the CIA, slashing the military-industrial complex budget. So, we find ourselves in this existential situation that I'm sure we're going to talk about, and we need a response. We need to come out to the streets. We need to show that there's that there is a resistance to this, that they can't just get away with this, because otherwise they're going to drive us right over the cliff of nuclear war, because that's what we're so close to right now. Any day now, the world could end because there's another Poland, another missile strike, something like that. So come join us, everybody who's watching Rage Against the War Machine. Diane Sarah with Schiller Institute's going to be there. A whole bunch of people are going to be there. It's awesome. We can talk more about it, but yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, we'll circle back and just, I don't know if you can see this, but here, the stream right now, I have the website pulled up. I have the list of speakers here and the coalition of people who are on the coalition of this thing also. I didn't know about marching to the White House though. That's cool. Are we going to storm the White House?
Actually, Angela and I did an interview with James Corbett of the Corbett Report on Sunday, you know, and that kind of came up. And I said, if they invite us in, there's no way we're going into the White House. So when they wave us in, hell no, we learned our lesson.
Yeah, okay.
From what the others, the way they framed the people on January 6th.
You know what? I'll hold my question because I do have some questions about possible FBI involvement and intrusion. I'm sure you've been thinking about that, but we'll come back to that because I think we'll end it off on a juicy note. What you just said though was here. Let's see if I can get this for us to also hear this too. So today, as you made me aware, the midnight clock has struck a little closer to midnight today. We are now 90 seconds closer to midnight. And I do want to play this. Hold on. Let's see here. Okay, there's no more echo, right? Okay, good. Yes, perfect. All right, now I should be able to play this video. Let's see.
The members of the Science and Security Board moved the hands of the doomsday clock forward, largely, though not exclusively, because of the mounting dangers in the war in Ukraine. We moved the clock forward the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
Well, there you go. There you have it. That's pretty scary, actually, because I think people are kind of losing the severity of what's actually happening, right? I think people are just so. It's like that school shooting effect, right? When you keep hearing that there's another shooting, like for example, last night there was one in California, right? Because it's happening so frequently, you just tune it out. And I think what you could correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. This is what I think, and this is how I observe it. People keep hearing we're at the verge of nuclear war. No, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. I'm just going to tune it out. And then here you have we're 90 seconds closer to midnight. We're at 90 seconds away from midnight. What does that mean? What is your take on this, Nick?
Well, first of all, I think they got some right and they got some wrong. What they got right is we're the closest to midnight that we've ever been. And by midnight, we mean doomsday. We mean a nuclear war. We mean the end of civilization, the end of life on Earth as we know it. Billions dead. That's what we mean. And that's what they mean. Now, they got that right. What they didn't get right, though, is we're a hell of a lot closer than 90 seconds. They moved it up from 100 to 90. There's no way we won't only 10% closer to nuclear war from last year to now, last January. No. With this war has brought us right up to the brink. And with this is essentially a world war right now. The Russian foreign minister recently said that, Sergei Lavrov. He said they've dropped the pretense. It's now an outright direct war of NATO against Russia. Russia being backed by China, being backed by Saudi Arabia, by Iran. It is the BRICS emerging, and of course being more on the sides of Russia as well. This is a world war right now. The United States, as Sergei Lavrov pointed out, and also the UN secretary, the UN foreign minister to the UN, I mean the Russian foreign minister to the UN recently, that it is the United States that is doing the targeting for the weapons that are being used by the Ukrainian forces against Russian forces. They are doing the training. They are providing the weapons. They are doing the logistics. They're doing the strategy. They're doing everything. They're doing everything except dying on the battlefield. That's for the Ukrainians. That's the role that's been reserved for the Ukrainians, to die by the tens of thousands, to be displaced by the millions. And so they're right about that. We are as close to nuclear war and as close to oblivion as we've ever been, but we are a lot closer than that. At any moment, because we've walked right up to the edge. Any mistake, any misinterpretation, any rogue provocation, and we've seen this from the dictator Zelensky and his corrupt puppet regime in Ukraine. There's a U.S. puppet regime. We've seen this time and time again because they know they're going to lose the war. They're getting more and more desperate and trying to provoke some kind of false flag, some kind of escalation that is going to bring the U.S. and NATO in direct conflict with Russia, including in nuclear conflict. Zelensky already declared his intentions. He said months ago that the U.S. should launch a preemptive nuclear strike against Russia. At the same time, Poroshenko, he was interviewed in Davos just recently, and he was asked on Fox Business News, he was asked why, people in the West are becoming increasingly concerned about the prospect of nuclear war as a result of this proxy war in Ukraine. And they asked the mayor of Kiev, so why should the West commit to that? And without missing a beat, without challenging the premise of that question, he said, I think it's worth it. I think a nuclear war is worth it because if we don't do that, if we don't stop the Russian advance in Ukraine, they're going to just invade all of Eastern and Western Europe after that. I mean, if that is the pretext, that is the excuse we're being given, that is laughably idiotic. Nobody believes that. There's no evidence to support that. Look at the damn map. It's NATO that is expanded right up to the border of Russia. It's not Russia that went up to Germany over the last 30 years, added 14 new member states to NATO. NATO and the United States and the military-industrial complex in this country are driving us into a nuclear war, and it's up to us to stop it. That's why we need to go out and rage against the war machine, because if we don't stand up, these people are going to get us all killed with their delusion that the U.S. hegemony can be maintained in the 21st century when you have other rising powers, China, Russia, India, the BRICS nations. That is crazy, and we need to disabuse these people of their delusion.
Hey, damn right, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Kynan, do you have anything to say?
I don't know. Yeah. You said it pretty well, AOC, and
Yeah, well, I mean, just the thing that makes this really so scary is that there's not a semblance of trust between either side, between the U.S. and Russia. I mean, you probably saw this yourself, Vic, the interview that was given to Angela Merkel by Der Spiegel when she commented on the Minsk process, and she said, well, the whole process was essentially used to give NATO time, to give Ukraine time, right? And so when, a nation like Russia hears that, they're basically saying, you cannot trust us at all. We don't want any kind of peace. When Boris Johnson went to Kiev in April, he stopped any kind of negotiation that was going on between Russia and Ukraine. And there was a chance at that point, so it's incredibly scary. NATO is basically telling Russia that you can't trust us, that we want to see your nation burn. And it's frightening, but I think that's what makes our initiatives, these interventions that we've been doing, ever the more important. It's giving hope to these people that common people like us, we can actually stop nuclear war if we rise up, and if we take control of our institutions again. So
yeah, I think sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead, Jose.
Speaking of people taking a stand, I know you referenced Kynan and I mean, I guess Kynan and I didn't really get a chance to talk about this much, but I was very proud of the fact that other people started standing up, including yourself too. I mean, that thing you guys did on Bernie Sanders, the who's paying you, that was very good, because I didn't get a chance to tell you this, because you have to be paid in order to want to not die in a nuclear war. I mean, what the hell was that about, right? And so, the kind of ripples, I was really happy to see, and I thought it was kind of dying out in the holidays and stuff, but no, I mean, like recently, we're now seeing that it's actually taking a resurgence. And I do want to play this thing that, I have to pull it up here, but I do want to play two things here. One, it's coming up. One is an intervention that was actually done against AOC a couple days ago at a town hall. When was that exactly? Kind of was a Saturday, right?
Yeah, this Saturday. Last Saturday.
It was Saturday, yeah. And so, but before I do that one, I want to showcase something that actually happened today. So let me see if I can pull this up here for you guys to see. Also, do you guys see that? That's a little small for you. I think if I then
I can see
spotlight it.
There we go. Bam. How's that?
It's great.
All right, awesome. Yeah, we're still working things out here. Anyway, so it says here yesterday. So this is from Yves Engler, and he says yesterday I interrupted Ambassador and then Bob Rack 48. Now I looked it up. This guy is a Canadian politician or UN ambassador, yeah, to challenge his support for NATO proxy war and recent UN votes against Palestinian rights, condemning neo-Nazism and treaty prohibiting nuclear arms. I questioned his role propping up unelected Haiti leader and backing of U.S. empire. And just before I play this, I remember Yves. I think he also confronted Blinken, our Secretary of State Blinken, in Canada when he was meeting with his Canadian counterparts. And so Yves,
I remember that.
Yeah, Yves been on the offensive for a while now too. And it's also, I think, important to understand that it's not just an American thing. I think we speak to an American audience, but like these protests that are happening in Europe are so censored and people don't really know that they're happening and people don't really see them happening. And so I'm really happy to always showcase something happening in other countries like this one happening in Canada. So let's see this here.
Mr. Ray, you're lying. You know it. You're using Ukraine as a proxy to weaken Russia. No, I'm not. You don't care about international law. At the United Nations, just recently, you voted against multiple resolutions upholding international law, upholding Palestinian rights. You voted against a resolution condemning neo-Nazism. You voted against a resolution supporting the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. You voted against a resolution calling for a more just economic global order. On Haiti, Mr. Ray, you're propping up an unelected, unpopular, unconstitutional leader that was appointed by the Canadian and U.S.-led core group. Mr. Ray, you supported the overthrow of Haiti's elected government in 2004. Is that true? Mr. Ray, is that true? Did you support the overthrow of Aristide's government in 2004?
Excuse me, sir.
Did you support the overthrow of elected government in Haiti in 2004?
No, I did not. Sir?
Yes, you did. You're on the public record doing it. At least have some honesty.
Sir?
Supporting ousting Aristide. Yes, you are on the public record.
Sir? Excuse me?
Your support of what's the justification for Ariel Henry? What's his legitimacy? What's his legitimacy, Mr. Ray? Why is it up to you to decide what happens in Haiti? Why is it up to you to decide what happens in Haiti?
Excuse me, sir.
Canada ousted the government in 2004. We appointed the PHTK in 2010, Michel Martelly.
Sir?
Did we do that? Is that recent history?
Excuse me, sir.
Are we sending weapons? Are we sending weapons to support a police propping up an unconstitutional, unelected leader?
Sir?
Is that happening right now?
Excuse me, sir. I'm talking
No, it's all about the horrors of Russia, right? Yeah, what Russia is doing is horrible. What Canadian imperialism is doing is what Canadian imperialism is doing is more horrible.
I'm asking
That's
you
the
to
reality.
leave from the back.
Canadian
Thank you very
imperialism.
much.
You supported the war in Afghanistan,
Sir,
in Libya.
I'm asking you
You
to
supported
leave
all
right
those
now.
wars.
Thank you very
Right?
much.
You support the U.S. empire, wherever U.S. empire does, whatever the U.S. empire wants to do.
Thank you.
Shame on you.
Thank you.
Free Palestine.
Why is that?
I had to make sure I got the Free Palestine in there. All right, now let's spotlight. There we go. And then we're back to, okay. So let me just bring everybody back on the screen here. Yeah, so that just happened. That just happened today, or at least it was posted today. I don't know if it happened today, but I'm really happy that happened. Nick, actually, I don't know. Does Rage Against the War Machine have international support? Is there anything going on internationally with that, or some kind of like I don't know, co-sponsorship or something with anyone internationally?
There is. But first of all, let me just say that was fucking awesome. And let me also say that I am jealous of that guy and the security situation in Canada where they, take their time in kicking you out. Because typically,
sir.
yes, sir. If they do that to me or to you guys, I'm sure we'd be like, yeah, whatever. Here, oh my God, they'll find you and they eliminate you immediately. And isn't that amazing? They can't handle a critical question. They can't handle anyone who knows what they're talking about. You're just supposed to sit there, even at a town hall, which is supposed to be a back and forth. It's all supposed to be about dialogue. But they just sit, unless you just sit there and just kind of receive whatever they're giving you, their first reaction is to evict you. Hey, this person has a problem. This person wants to discuss something. Kick you out, uncivil, out, evicted. That's always their response. But and credit to you, Jose, and you, Kane, and Thomas, and Anastasia, and everybody who's participated in these disruptions, which are amazing, and especially that incredible first one that you guys did, against AOC, that got like 13 million views or something, 7 million views, something crazy, because that was fantastic. That really helped, I think, inspire people to go out and do the others. It inspired me. People in Canada, people other countries. That's amazing. That's exactly what we needed, is that kind of, grassroots resurgence of the anti-war movement in this country and other countries. And you asked about other actions that are going to happen, potentially internationally. And we're hoping that, in fact, there will be. What we're trying to organize is an international week of rebellion against NATO around that anniversary of the war. It's the 9th anniversary, by the way. And it's from the 18th to the 26th, those 2 weekends. So the 19th is Rage Against the War Machine. On the 25th in London, George Galloway and Chris Williamson, 2 former members of parliament from the UK, are going to host No to NATO, No to War. And they are kicking ass and organizing that. Russell Brand is going to speak there. MEPs Claire Daly, Mick Wallace, who are just the best members of the European Parliament. They're both from Ireland. Absolutely fantastic against the war. So that's happening 1 week after ours happens. And between those 2 weekends, we really want to have an international week of action. And we're working with No to NATO, really hoping as well that you guys, as the Schiller Institute, will be able to inspire people in the many countries where you have people to be able to come out and join and host something. President Ramatar, so many others who are awesome, who are with you guys, that they'll be able to do something in their countries as well. And the NATO countries, especially Germany, France, Italy, there have been the US and the UK, we're actually behind the game. There have been tens of thousands of people that are protesting across Europe, in countries across Europe, for months, ever since the beginning of the war. And they've primarily been protesting against the war, against NATO, and now against the exorbitant, bankrupting energy prices, because the US blew up Nord Stream with the UK. And so what we're saying is that the media blacks these out. They black these protests out. They don't cover them, and we hear nothing about it in the United States, But if we all go at once, if we can coordinate that, an international rebellion against NATO within NATO countries, of the people rising up against that war machine that is bringing us to the edge of World War III, or to the edge of a nuclear World War III, then we might have an impact. So, I'm excited about the actions in DC and London, and hoping that we can get as many going across Europe and across the world.
That's awesome. All right, good. Okay, so I have one more video I want to show before we circle right back to the Rage Against the War Machine and some questions I have. So let's see if I can then bring this up like this, and then we do this, then we do this. There we go. All right, I'm getting better at this. So today at AOC's town hall, Lucy, and I posted this, so I did the translation of this. I did make one slip up, and that's at the end, and I'll point it out, where she just basically just says, again, the Democratic Party does nothing for us, and I just forgot to caption that. But, Yeah, so today at AOC's town hall, Lucy Can 22 stood up and called out AOC on her funding towards Ukraine, the lack of action from the Democrats, and the need for an independent movement from the establishment. And what's great about this one is that this is the woman who's doing it, and she's speaking Spanish. AOC's district is composed of mainly a lot of Spanish speakers. And so let's hear what Lucy had to say. I hope you guys can read the subs. Here we go.
Años que no hacen una ley de amnistía.
¿Una qué?
Una ley de amnistía, una ley de migración, hace 40 años. No, necesito hablar, necesito escucharme. Yo vine para hacer una pregunta. Señora, yo vine para hacer una pregunta. Hace 40 años que no hay una ley de amnistía en este país. ¿Ok? Todavía no hay una ley de amnistía en este país. Y el Partido Demócrata mandó 100 billones de dólares a nazis en Ucrania, que esta señora votó para eso. En este país necesitamos un tercer partido, al estilo de AMLO en México y Petro en Colombia y Boric en Chile. El Partido Demócrata no está haciendo nada por nosotros. Nosotros nos estamos registrando independiente, porque el Partido Demócrata no hace nada por nosotros. No, señora, no. Necesitamos registrarnos independientes. Yo voy a estar afuera registrando a la gente independiente.
No, why does she gotta leave?
No, necesito hacer una
She's
pregunta.
addressing her government for redress of grievance.
No.
Brenda Leon, Alvaro Ortiz Vasquez.
And yeah, so well, let me just put everybody back up here. Yes, yes, and yes. So, you know, Nick, I have a question for you, which is like, somebody was saying, well, you know, these are getting tired and overplayed. What is the point of continuing to do these? Like, why do we continue to do these? Are they being effective? What do you think, Nick?
Oh, without question, they're effective. I mean, if you want to say that not having these and not having hundreds of thousands or millions of people view this and not having people out there understand that they're not alone in opposing this war, if you're saying that's worthless, I disagree. If you're saying it's worthless to have the people in the military-industrial complex seeing that there's a rising rebellion against their war, I strongly disagree. This is a movement that is being reborn, the anti-war movement, and that's how it starts. When you study how movements develop, when you study how movements rise, this is a movement in its early stages, and that's a good thing because that's what we need. Movements begin when a few courageous people or small groups stand up and by their acts of civil disobedience, by their acts of defiance that are viewed by others, others are inspired. Others realize that they're not alone. They're not alone in challenging the loss of freedoms from these wars. They're not alone in opposing and being insulted by the billions of dollars, the conveyor belt of billions of dollars being sent for war. They're not alone in being terrified by the prospect of losing their life and everyone they care about in a nuclear war. They realize that, and there's solidarity in that. There's strength in that. And so absolutely, I would say it's worth it. During the Bernie campaign, I was a national political outreach coordinator during the Bernie campaign. So from 2015 to 2016, I was in Burlington. I went to Iowa and New York with Bernie, did a whole bunch of things, went to the DNC in Philly with him. That campaign was strong, not because it popularized certain issues like getting money out of politics, ending corporate corruption, Medicare for all. It wasn't that. When you looked at the poll numbers of people who supported those things before and after his campaign, it was about the same. So what changed? What changed is that he made by going out there, by putting himself out there, people realized that there were many others who believed what they believed and who felt what they felt from their lived experience. And there was strength in that, because then people weren't afraid to talk about it. They weren't afraid to stand up for it. They weren't afraid to put themselves on the line, to organize, to move for it, to mobilize for it. And that's exactly what's happening now. That millions of people ended up voting for him, thousands of people volunteering across the country. Of course, it was shut down by the DNC, and they ended up blaming Russia and laying the groundwork for this war. But doing that, having the courage to break through the atomization, the courage to break through the enemy that splits up and divides all of us, that wants us all to be isolated, alone, out of communication, unable to mount a resistance or a challenge, breaking down those walls and realizing that we are together in brotherhood and sisterhood with others who are standing up against this. There is nothing more powerful than that.
Beautiful. Before we go to our last topic, Kyan, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, Nick, I actually wanted to ask you, because you're doing this in collaboration with the Libertarian Party, and I'm sure not a lot of people would think that the People's Party and the Libertarian Party exactly align on many things, you know, but on this question of war, absolutely. So I'd like you to just comment on the importance of talking to people that you disagree with, that, you know, share different backgrounds, you know, because I think this will be a key driver in actually stopping this war if people unite on what they believe in, like stopping nuclear war. So
absolutely. Yeah. The anti-war movement for too long, and people who are opposing war, have been siloed by their political ideologies or preferences. Opposing war is not a left or right issue. And by coming together with the Libertarian Party as a party on the left and a party that, you know, on the right, then we're hoping that we can show that if we can work together, despite our substantial differences in other areas, if we can work together on this, if we can work together to stop war, nuclear war, end the empire, abolish the CIA, abolish NATO, disarm nuclear weapons, then everybody in between and everyone else across the political spectrum should be able to likewise come together on this issue. That's the message that we're hoping to send, because at the People's Party, we think that left-right paradigm, that's really outdated. It's not relevant anymore. What we have, in effect, when you study the actual world and you put the ideological lens aside, and the ideological lens is just another barrier. It's just one of those other things that divides us, you know, rather than talking about substance. It's just meant to get us to classify each other and then pretend like we understand, we know everything about a whole group of people, you know, like Hillary's deplorables, without actually ever engaging in dialogue and humanizing other people who we might have disagreements with. So that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping that this lays the groundwork for collaboration on this issue and perhaps other issues as well, because that left-right dynamic is archaic. What it really is a few elites, a few corporate elites in the military-industrial complex in Wall Street who are calling all the shots. They're making all the money, and they're giving the kickbacks to their friends in Congress. That's what we're up against. A few elites. It doesn't matter whether you're left or right. You're going to die in the nuclear war too.
Very good. So let's come in. Let's do another 5 minutes here. Last 5 minutes here. I have a question for you, which is this, you know, inevitably, when you have such a big mobilization like what you're organizing with the Rage Against the War Machine event, people aren't going to be happy with it. And I'm not even talking about people who are like, you know, pro-Ukrainian or anything like that. I mean, like people in the government, you know, the oligarch, the corporate elitists and stuff, you know, and then we see here like this January 6th thing is coming out that like this guy Ray Epps, this FBI agent, was involved in provoking people to actually storm the Capitol, and that we're seeing that there was some influence from, you know, internal forces, intelligence agencies that were using it and kind of turned it into what it became. Are you concerned about that might happen for February 19th? And if so, have there been measures taken that you could talk about? Or I don't know.
Yes, that is a classic tactic used to disrupt organizers, especially peaceful organizers. They will send in infiltrators. You know, the feds will send in infiltrators who are there to try to get the crowd to commit violence, to try to start fights within the crowd, anything, you know, to make the media believe that the protest is about something that it's not. Absolutely, that's something we're going to be on the lookout for. We're going to have security at the event, you know, for that reason. And also because some of the people who are coming to speak are people who are actually in danger because they speak out. Diane is on the Ukrainian kill list. And so for that reason, we are going to have serious security at the event, and we're not going to tolerate people who try to instigate and agitate some kind of infiltration.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to bring up the website one more time here, and let's bring it up here. So I just wanted to ask a little bit about these coalitions. How did I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? I mean, I have it pulled up, but like for example, here I have, you know, so the Libertarian Party, People's Party. You know, you have people like Mrs. Caucus. Is that what it is?
Yep, Mises Caucus.
Mises Caucus, Peace in Ukraine, Liberty Speaks, Radical Caucus, Action for Assange. They're awesome. Oh, I see these people are sponsors. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So what is it like then, you know, being able to have this broad coalition of people who are all coming together and saying, for this, we're going, oh, you had Center for Political Innovation too, World Beyond War. Okay. Awesome.
It's fantastic. We have people who consider, you know, who span from you know, the Libertarian Party to, you know, people who are conservative, to people who are on the left, to people who are socialist or even communist. You know, it's fantastic that many, you know, groups that span that wide of kind of a political spectrum can come together.
Yeah, I see you have people like Jimmy Dore, Medea Benjamin, Scott Horton, Garland Nixon, cool guy, David Swanson, Daniel McAdams, Max Blumenthal, Anya Parampil, Supreme. That's that's quite a surprise. Wu-Tang. Sorry.
Yep.
Diane, Scott Ritter, Kim Iverson, Jackson Hinkle, and Matthew Ho. Wow. Yeah. You've got like a real badass lineup of speakers here. And so just so like, do people have to register for this? Do they just show up? What's the deal?
So we would appreciate it if you would sign up on the website. There's this on that homepage. There's a sign up page down on the website, because that helps, you know, tell us how many people are going to be there. I suspect a lot of people aren't going to, you know, sign up, of course, but that's perfectly fine. But if you can, please do that. So, yeah. And also, if you can, you know, make a contribution, because, you know, there's a lot of, so every act of resistance matters. But the small actions aren't enough to deviate course. You know, we need something that's bigger. That's why when we, you know, when we discussed this with the Libertarian Party and we said, well, you know, what needs to happen now? We said something big needs to happen. You know, it has to make an impression. It has to be something that, you know, the warmongers in the White House and Congress and the Pentagon and the CIA, that they can't ignore, that they have to answer to. And that's why we have set a target of $45,000 for the event. And actually, we spoke with that. That is the budget version of the event, frankly, because we spoke with, there was a Defeat the Mandates rally 1 year ago in January at the Lincoln Memorial. I recently spoke with some of their organizers and said, how much did it cost you to put that on? They said $2.5 million.
Oh,
I know.
Jesus.
So I said, wow, okay. But we've we're working with some good production companies. I think we're going to have a great setup, you know, but still, that's why we need people to contribute, help us reach that 45,000 goal, because we need it for a speaker, Jumbotron. We need it for a podium, stage. We need it for flyers. We need it for promotions. We're organizing buses, by the way. There's going to be a page for transport. You need transport from a kind of, you know, Eastern city. Go onto that page, go onto our website. That's going to be there soon. But we need those funds to put on something big because, we can go out and we've done this at the People's Party all over the country. We've done this a lot. You can go out and protest, on a street corner, or you can do a small protest, but it isn't enough. It needs to escalate. It needs to culminate in bigger and bigger and bigger events. And even this event, we want even this to build up to things that are even larger. So, to build up to taking direct action when people are there, going back, take direct action in your congressional district. Go protest your member of Congress, at their office. Go do a sit-in, occupy their office. Go to their house and protest. Do those protests, always peacefully, but do those protests. That's why we want to treat this as an organizing rally to take people to further actions so that this is a movement that continues to ascend as it needs to.
That's perfect. All right. Well, Nick, I guess that's pretty much it. Unless there's anything else you want to say?
No, just want to say kudos and thanks to you guys for always doing these disruptions as well, and for being there. I know you said you're going to be there. I hope you're going to be there too, Keenan.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to see you guys there, and I'm really excited also about the collaboration between People's Party, Libertarian Party, Schiller Institute, in hopefully bringing out people to protest internationally from all those people that around the world. So yeah, excited for it.
All right, y'all. Well, then this is us signing off. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks a lot.